What's up, Liron here, and today we're going to review this painting by NITA ENGLE. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in episode 4 of Painting Masters, and I'm really excited about today's artist. We're going to review a painting by NITA ENGLE. She's an American watercolor painter, very talented. You can actually find a few videos of her on YouTube, so I will link them in the description box. And so she's won several awards, and the way I became familiar with her work is through her book, which is this one, How to Make a Watercolor Paint Itself. A really just a great book that I have actually tons of paintings there that I love, and she has this style of letting watercolor do whatever they want and then taking control afterwards and making something out of it. And I think this is an incredible way of really pushing the medium to its very limit, and this reflects on her work. It's a very much a sense of a product that you cannot get using other media. It really is watercolor, which is amazing. And so today's painting, I actually tried to look for a picture of it online, but I couldn't find one. So what we'll have to do is review it from the book itself directly. But I still think you'll be able to see everything. It's quite a large one originally, but I think it's going to be okay. And just as a quick note, I'm always putting timestamps in the description box, so if you want to skip the intros in any of my videos, I usually have a timestamp that says when the review begins, when the intro ends. So anyway, let's get started. This painting is called Breaking into the Sun Sea Cloud, or the Sun Sea Cloud, and so the name of the painting is really fitting the whole concept. The whole atmosphere is the first thing I'd like to talk about, and notice what a beautiful, beautiful movement from dark to light. And this is really the entire idea of the painting, is the way the sail ship, or the ship, whatever you would call this, the particular term, moves from the dark and into the light. One of the things that really make this one stand out for me and make it probably my favorite work in this entire book is the amazing control of the highlights. And this is something that really fascinates me with this one. If you look at the highlights here, so it's like there's the sun and it shines through the clouds and you can see it over the clouds' edges. Now, many times you see artists using highlights to their advantage in many different ways, but what happens here is that there's actually control over the temperature of the highlight. And you know, I talk about a lot about temperature and shadows, warm darks, cool darks, but in highlights this is something that I almost never encountered. And notice how there's a lot of reddish here, and you can see this through the camera. I can see it through the monitor, and it does shine through. You can see the redness and the warm here under the cloud, and here there's a bit of cool blues and purples, and it actually gives the impression that this area of light is warm and this area is cool. And in fact, the highlight itself is pretty much the same. It's the shadowy area that's a little different, and this is where there's the play of warm and cool, but still it gives the impression that the actual highlight itself is warm and cool in different places. And this is the one thing that really captured me in here. So there's the whole highlight, but also temperature. Now, the main focus point of this painting, which is definitely, it could be the cloud, but also the ship itself. I think it's a great way to create a focal point, because there are just a lot of details. So many details in the focal point. You have a lot to look at, which is important, because your eyes are immediately attracted to the ship. So you can see all the sails and all the little tiny details here. One more thing is, just generally speaking, the composition. So the boat is moved a bit to the right. Now, there's the rule of thirds that's discussed quite often, about not to place things in the dead center of the image. But aside from that, there's the whole idea that shifting this ship to the right, at least for me, indicates movement. So it leaves this gap here that literally shows you where it's going to go, where the ship is moving. It is breaking into the sun. So it is important to leave that gap and let it get into this gap in our imagination. And just as a side note, notice this tiny bird there in the distance. Just amazing attention to details, which I find really fascinating. Also, if you look at the horizon line, it's not really in the center as well. It's kind of a bit above the lower third, but that's really arbitrary in many cases. I find that you can really play around with it. But in this particular example, I think the composition is phenomenal. Another thing is, notice how the darkness of the storm helps make use of negative painting with the sails, which is something I find quite amazing as well. She really made good use of the lights on the boat itself. What interests me is why she chose to do the boat itself white as well, and not maybe contrast it with the waves, have it maybe a light bluish or maybe even a light reddish tone. I don't know, I guess she had her own things to take into consideration when thinking about that. But I think it could have worked as well if the boat was maybe in a different color, not white. This would probably give more weight to the sails, but maybe she didn't want to give more weight to the sails, so definitely a thing to think about. Now, one more thing that I think is the main point here is the sea. So if you look at the sea, and this is where Nita's work really excels, is her ability to create an impression out of just letting watercolor do what they want. And this is a very typical thing of her type of work. She does have, of course, scenes that are extremely different from this, but when she does seas or wavy seas like this, this is something you'd see quite often, and I find it beautiful. The way the sea really behaves spontaneously, and many of these effects were really achieved spontaneously by splashing water on the paper and spraying them with many different tools that she uses, and this is really important because you can find how she does this on several YouTube videos, so I would encourage you to check these out. You can just see for free how she does it, and I find it fascinating, really an amazing thing. So just this is by far one of my favorites. I probably have at least 10 paintings in this book that are candidates that I look at and I think, wow, this is amazing. But this one, because of the warmth in the clouds and in the sky, I think takes the cake for me. And I really, really love this one. So this is what I wanted to say about this one. Maybe a bit of a shorter description here. But in any case, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I think what I'll do now is just zoom in a little bit so you can see maybe more of the details if you wish to, and then we can wrap it up. So I figured it would first make a lot of sense to zoom in on the boat itself, on the ship, sorry, so you can see all of the details and the different parts of the ship. I think many of these ropes were done using white gouache or white opaque paint, because it's pretty hard to get these kinds of things done. Here you have the little bird in the distance. There's the warmth here, amazing in the sky. This is originally 20 by 30 inches, so it's quite a large one. And what you're looking at is me recording it in a very small A4 kind of format or size. So in any case, here you can check out the stormy skies. This is really a treat to the eyes. And I just want to quickly show you some others to show you how versatile her style is. So Nita also has these kinds of works that are highly atmospheric. You can see there's really one dominant color all throughout this one. This kind of a yellowish sepia color, brown that dominates this scene, and just a beautiful way leaving the white gaps here on the water surface creates these highlights, sparkly water from the sun, a very beautiful effect. Let me show you another one, and this one, let me zoom in on that one because it's probably my second favorite. So this painting is called After the Rain, Whiteby, I guess, this is the name of the place, and again, spectacular. Notice how in the shadows there's a lot of warmth and redness and brown, and you have all of these areas faded kind of into the storm. This effect, I honestly have no idea how she did that. but it's just phenomenal. This is probably my second favorite here in this entire book. Again, a pretty large one, so that one's 18.5 inches on 28 and 2/3 inches here. So in any case, again, another beautiful one, just to show you how versatile her style is. But in any case, this is it. Let's wrap up this video. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this review of a painting by an amazing artist. I really wanted to share this one. I immediately knew this is going to be the next episode, and I have tons of ideas. I don't really even need to try hard. I just found out like 10 more artists that I really want to review work by. So you can expect many more great artists in the near few lessons, and this helps me expand my artistic horizons and find out different styles that work. And another thing that I started really paying attention to recently is composition. So this really helps me finding compositions that I like, which is, I think, really important. I'm going to talk about that more in the near future, I hope, once I have some more insights, because I'm really focusing on composition lately. So in any case, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to check out the other videos in this series. I will put a link somewhere, probably in a card at the top corner. Sorry, had a hiccup, weird something. I will put a link somewhere in the corner, and also I will put links in the description box to different things like my podcast, my Instagram page and stuff. If you want to check out different types of videos, I have tons of other ones like the paint show and tutorials and guides on painting and watercolor and sketching and all sorts of things, and also the vlogs. So definitely subscribe if you still haven't, and don't forget to click the bell, because that way you get notifications for new videos, and I do post 3 a week. Okay, so this is it. Thank you so much once again, and I will talk to you again real soon.